This series, Lost in the Woods, has been a fun ride, yes? Every single video before has been made so that I could give you this one. I wanted you to understand that Breath of the Wild didn't materialize from nothing. Getting lost in the woods wasn't a negative thing in the slightest, as it was the lost woods that helped Nintendo pull off this new release at such a grand scale. Those 30 years of wandering further and further away from the core wasn't aimless wandering, but the slow and steady march of iteration. With the release of every new game, Nintendo tested a new mechanic, a new theory or focus. And though they turned their back on the core of Zelda even as they supplemented that gap with what can sometimes feel like fluff, the problem isn't the myriad of additions. The reason those games were good, but never great, was simply a misguided focus. When Nintendo recommitted to the core of Zelda, non-linear exploration first, and then incorporated everything else to support that core, the results are just hair-raising. I told you way at the beginning of the series that I wouldn't be able to explain why Breath of the Wild is so great without clearly understanding the evolution of the series as a whole. Now that we've done that, let's do a recap and go through each game once again to see how every release introduced something that, when used to support the non-linear exploration core, rather than be a focus of its own, makes Breath of the Wild what it is. Akin to the original Legend of Zelda, everything is first and foremost about exploring the world. The mysterious beginning, the cryptic old man by a fire, and even the mirror reflection of how the original started you out without a sword or even how to find one. It incorporates maneuvering tricks pulled from the adventure of Link, such as jumping, as well as the RPG level-up mechanics. The dungeons are interesting puzzles focused around using key items, all embedded in a fleshed-out world, as was popularized in A Link to the Past. They learned that video games could portray fully realized characters with emotional ties, as was first done in Link's Awakening. Breath of the Wild is rendered in a fully three-dimensional perspective, a development brought to us originally in Ocarina of Time, which came with the slower methodical combat and dungeons focused on vertical spatial awareness. Or how Majora's Mask introduced the concept that there can be other kinds of exploration, that the physical world is only one layer of the overall mystery. There's weather that affects your gameplay and strategy, as was introduced in the Oracle games. An insane sense of freedom, first felt with wind whipping through your hair while flying across the wide open ocean of the Wind Waker. The expansion of the items and abilities Link has beyond the basic sword, bow, and boomerang, which was fleshed out in the Minish Cap. How the events from 100 years ago surrounding Calamity Ganon are akin to the truly devastating and cataclysmic loss first felt in Twilight Princess. The Wii U version sports the inclusion of using two screens simultaneously, one dedicated to inventory and maps, with the other dedicated to gameplay, as was first seen in the Four Swords games, then later refined in the Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Skyward Sword gave us cutscenes worth watching, presenting a fully developed plotline worth remembering, within a beautiful impressionistic art style worth reusing. And A Link Between Worlds showed us that we, as gamers, are ready to start letting go of how Nintendo presents the Zelda tropes, so long as they still exist. But most importantly, rather than Nintendo focusing on what they've incorporated from each game specifically, they've fully revisited the breathless wonder experienced by Miyamoto, the original inspiration. "When I was a child," he said, "I went hiking and found a lake. It was quite a surprise for me to stumble upon it. When I traveled around the country without a map, trying to find my way, stumbling on amazing things as I went, I realized how it felt to go on an adventure like this." Yes, my friends, Breath of the Wild is, before it's even released, the best game Nintendo has ever made. It comes as close to perfecting one of their franchises as they've ever come. It's more than just a fresh take on an established series. It's a legacy and a love letter to everything that has made the Zelda games something more than just a fun series. When Breath of the Wild is released into the wild tomorrow, we can all take a deep and refreshing breath. For the first time since its inception, those 30 long years ago, The Legend of Zelda actually feels legendary. How's that for a gushy video?